Explain how each graph is obtained from the graph of y is equal to f of x. If we look at part A, we have y is equal to f of x plus 8. So we're taking the number 8 and we're adding it to the function, which means that we're shifting the function 8 units upward. So we can say that the graph, to obtain the graph in part A, we're going to shift the graph 8 units upward. Part B, we have y is equal to f of x plus 8. Now 8 is being added to the input, which means that we need to shift the graph to the left 8 units. So for part B, to obtain the graph, we're going to shift the graph 8 units to the left. For part C, we have y is equal to 8 times f of x, which means we're going to stretch the graph vertically by a factor of 8. Since we're taking 8 and multiply it by its function, meaning the y value, and that's why we're stretching it by a factor of 8. So to obtain that graph in part C, we're going to stretch the graph vertically by a factor of 8. For part D, we have y is equal to f of 8 times x. So 8 is being multiplied by the input, which is the horizontal part of the graph. So that means it's going to shrink horizontally by a factor of 8. So to obtain the graph in part D, we're going to shrink the graph horizontally by a factor of 8. For part E, we have y is equal to negative times the function f of x minus 1. So the negative is telling us that we're going to reflect the graph about the x-axis and then shift it down 1 unit. So for part E, to obtain that graph, we're going to first reflect the graph about the x-axis and then shift it 1 unit downward. And then for part F, y is equal to 8 times the function f of 1/8 x. To obtain the graph, we're going to stretch the graph horizontally and vertically by a factor of 8.